here it is at last. The Airfix Supermarine Spitfire 124 scale. We've been waiting for it for a while now. And yes, finally arrived. So let's dig straight into sort of what's in the box. First thoughts, lovely artwork, of course. I did get the free poster with it, which we might have a quick look at if we've got time. Obviously, I don't want to bore everybody with running on too long on this video. First thing I noticed, obviously, is the box. It's got more of a satin finish. Not that that's a problem, but there it is. It's not got quite the same, glossy finish that the Airfix red boxes normally have. But actually, I quite like it. Quickly go zip around the box. We've got some CAD work on the side and the usual warnings. Cartograph decals, of course, and it says on the side here, designed and manufactured in the UK. Go around the sides, usual sort of stuff. You've got picture, and then we've got the upside down bit. The schemes, we go through those in a bit more detail when we go through the instructions. Paint requirements, humble paint requirements, skill level 4 flying hours, usual. Oh, and kit number here is A17001. So I think let's open the box and get straight in there. Usual Airfix top opening box. It's nice thick box, nice sturdy construction. And what I'll do is we'll go straight on and have a quick look at the instructions, and then I'll come back to the decals and then we'll look at the parts. Nice thick instruction booklet there. I'll zoom in slightly for you there so it's a little bit easier hopefully to see. And the colour call outs, we get those colour sort of plans there as well. Yeah, usual sort of thing. We've got the sort of bit of specifications, bit of information on the actual aircraft itself, etc. And this it gives you the wingspan, 469 millimeters, fuselage length. Wingspan, and then fuselage length 397 millimeters. I've got a feeling this is just over 400 parts. It doesn't say here. I've seen it somewhere though. Probably on the Hornby Airfix website. We've got colour call out here, which is nice. They're actually in colour. Usual, assembly instructions, assembly icon information there. Bit of information here, which is nice on where this is really the decal layout by the looks of things here. So we've got the decals for the instrument panel placement and various other decal bits and pieces, which is nice. There's obviously some options here. And then pretty much like any instruction booklet, most aircraft, it's, we start with the cockpit, we start with the seat here really. It comes with some plastic belts by the looks of things, lap belts there, which is nice. We then go on to this sort of, again, probably much like the 48 scale version of this, we're going to kind of create this sort of tub that will, insert into the fuselage halves. Painting guide. Interestingly, they're all coloured. Obviously, there's the number, but there's actually the brushes in these pictures are coloured to indicate at least an approximation of the colour you're painting on here. Obviously, you're going to have to, potentially, if you don't use Humbrol, you're going to have to look up these codes. Instrument decal. There's some options here as well. Not quite sure. I'll need to read into that a bit more. Various bits and pieces. It all looks lovely and detailed here going together. Again, yeah, as I say, you're building up this sort of tube almost that's going to, we're going to insert into the two cockpit halves. Obviously, you'll have to be fairly careful attention. There does seem to be some variations depending on which version you're building as you go through here. I think most of this revolves around the painting guides, and some difference in part numbers as well. Nice clear instructions. Obviously there's bits here that you may have to change depending on whether you're with the canopy open or in the closed position. Again, this is similar to the 148 version if you've ever built that. Lots of lovely detail going in here. Rare battery boxes, I think that's what that's supposed to be. Oxygen tubing, I think this is for the oxygen bottles. Again, I'm not an expert, but there's a lot of detail anyway. And again, there's a bit here about whether you're going to build it with the canopy open, the door open, etc. Firewall going in down the bottom here, and then we start getting all the sort of bits and pieces for the tail, horizontal stabilizers, etc. Here, then we're going into the wing. We've got this large brace by the looks of things for the wing, which is great. More bits of bracing going in for the wing area and the wheel wells, etc. There's also some recommendations. Hold each wing down on a flat surface whilst the glue dries to ensure that the bottom surface of the wing spar is straight. Ammunition boxes going together, more sparring through the whole of the wing, various pipes, bits and bobs. This the ammunition boxes going in, and more piping, more bits and pieces here. Looks good. The guns are going in. We've got a full detail of the guns, which is great. So that's nice. These obviously can all be opened up. Then there's the main fuselage going onto the bottom wing before you actually add the top halves. Top halves added afterwards. Obviously, there's different versions again here, so be careful when you're choosing the various parts to the different schemes. It can be closed or open, so that's great. Here's all your sort of radiator, oil coolers and bits and bobs all going together and onto the underside of the wing. Again, there's slight differences. Obviously, if you've got the clip wing version there, so that's got to be care be taken there. And then there's the whole engine. Now, it does say when building this model with all the cowling covers attached, there is no need to build the whole engine. And it gets you to follow steps 115 to 135 on page 24 to 26. So there'll be some differences here to how you build up the engine. I get the feeling you're building a very minimum part of the app. In fact, let's quickly just go through this. So if you're building it with the engine, you're going to follow all of these parts, building up the engine. If you're not, you're going to do something slightly different by the looks of things here. And you're just building part of the engine, and then you you put the nose on. If you want to build the whole of the engine, then you're going to continue through all these extra steps to fully build up the engine and create that lovely engine in there. That's great. And obviously then you're going to leave it open. I don't know whether you can put some of the cowling parts on. I'm assuming you possibly can, maybe not. Yeah, so you're going to have the underneath, but I get the feeling. Okay. That's got the engine with the... Yeah, I guess you've got an either or here. So it looks like you can build the engine with the cowling on it, but then you can obviously have the ability to take it on and off to show off the engine, or you can just skip the whole thing and build up the whole nose with just minimal engine, depending on what you want to do there. Flaps, etc., guns going on, cannons. Then we come to our undercarriage, either up or down. Wheels all going together. Obviously, there's some quite good detail here on how to, to position your undercarriage. Lots of bits and pieces going together. Then we're coming on to our canopy build, and finally the propeller. And that's pretty much it. That's the instructions. We've then got the different colour callouts. I'm not going to go through these in massive detail, but let's just have a quick look what we've got here. Lovely, always helpful to have proper colour callouts. Makes painting and decal placement much easier. we've got the different versions with D-Day stripes with it on there. Then we've got 3 different colour call out here. Common stencils. We've got the French one there, which has got a nice colour scheme. Clipped wing. We've then got our sort of desert colour scheme with the midstone and dark earth, which I always like, especially with this blue azure, or is it azure blue? Yeah, approximate azure blue. You actually have to mix by the looks of things. Oh no, that's just for where the roundels have been painted over. But that's a nice scheme. And then we've got another scheme there. There's the Johnson scheme. And I believe there are some other options now for decals on the aftermarket if you want to go, that sort of route. The decals, well, what can we say? The Cartograph, they look excellent. They're nice, glossy. This very, very little carrier film that I can see. You look around these markings here. I don't know how well you can see. There's not the usual horrendous carrier film that you sometimes get around decals. Not necessarily Airfix, but just manufacturers in general. But they look fabulous. And why you wouldn't want to use one of those schemes, I don't know. But obviously, the aftermarket offers some options, and sometimes it's nice to do something that's not in the box. But they look great. Okay, let's get to the plastic. So we'll come out a little bit to begin with before we zoom in and give you a better look at things. Yeah, obviously they've tried to save some plastic bags here, save the environment, which is good. So they're using this sort of paper to divide some of the plastic parts up, or certainly the larger sprues. Look here. So we'll put these to one side for a moment. Put that one there. That one there. And then we've got some of the larger parts here. And then the rest is in plastic bags as per normal. So we'll start with some of these larger bits and bobs. In fact, let's start with the fuselage halves there. So let's bring that in nice and close for you. Wow, I mean, the detail is, you've got this, again, the camera might not pick this up as well, but there's like the stress metal skin effect here. It's slightly lumpy and bumpy. You got rivets, which are quite, there's a lot of them, possibly more than maybe slightly overemphasized. I don't know, I'm not really an expert on these things, but they're certainly not oversized, which is nice. They look reasonably to scale. We've got some injection pin marks in here, but obviously once the main fuselage part goes in, I don't think you're going to have much of an issue. I'm not sure about this one, but certainly these ones down here aren't going to be an issue. And unless you're going to open up the sort of structure, you're never going to see these ones at the back. Again, we've got some detail here, which is lovely. This is you've kind of got a raised area, which is done very well. This is strange. I don't know if it brings it up. There's almost this odd texture here of lines. Whether that's supposed to be there, whether that will actually be noticeable once it's painted. Can't feel anything there. It's a bit weird. You can see this sort of like lines going down. It might be just part of the moulding process, might not be anything to worry about. Certainly it doesn't feel like there's a slight texture. The plastic itself is not quite the same as that Airfix typical soft plastic, although it's not quite as hard as some of the others out there, like the sort of Hasegawa plastic, but it looks nice, feels nice, looks good. That's sprue A. Again, the nice thing with these newer kits is obviously the numbering makes it easier to determine which sprue is which. Sorry, let's just organise this a bit. We'll then come on to sprue B. Again, here we go. Wow, look at that. The detail is phenomenal. Again, you've got a slight sort of texture of that sort of stressed metal. There is what looks, though, again, I don't know how well you can see that there. That might actually be a slight sink mark, bearing in mind it's right next to this part here. Again, you know, it's not the end of the world. You haven't got the same thing on this side. That's all clean, although, again, actually, I don't know how well the camera's picking that up, but there might be a slight sink mark there, but nothing that couldn't be taken care of at the end of the day. But the rest of the detail looks, oh wow, looks really, really nice. It looks like a good, again, you've got some parts that are slightly raised. Again, the rivets are nicely done, although there's an awful lot of them. That's sprue B. We then got the upper wing halves and that sort of main larger brace. Again, much the same, lovely detail. Again, this, I don't think that's intentional. I think that could be sink marks, but I could be wrong. I don't want to, you know, overly analyse it, but you don't seem to have the same, quite the same this side. Again, I don't know how well the camera's picking that up. I mean, maybe that is by design, but it looks like a slightly sink mark to me. But again, you know, the nice thing here is we've got, you know, the actual injection points are quite small. You know, like those huge chunky ones that you end up cutting, and if you're not careful, you damage the actual plastic as you remove it. So that's nice. And again, the detail is good. It's fantastic. We've then got the top of the nose, the top of the engine, part M. Again, we've got some raised kind of riveting here, which is lovely, really nicely done. Nicely to scale by the looks of things. Looks good. Okay, so now we're getting to that, opening up some bags here. I have gone for, generally it looks like it's approximately 2 sprues a bag, rather than, you know, that individual bits in bags. Sprue D, this is your sidewalls here, and your various internal parts. Again, it all looks nicely detailed, flash free. There's no unpleasant injection marks in here, which would be you wouldn't want. They're going to be on this side, so that's fine. That's all good, nicely detailed. Small parts all look good. Should be easy to remove from the sprue. There's lots of detail in there. You've got the harness here for a plastic harness. That's actually pretty good. You could certainly get away with that without having to worry about photo etch if you wanted to. Various bits, oxygen bottles. Hopefully the camera's behaving itself with the focus there. That looks good. Nice, lovely. Lovely parts. We've got some bits here. So this is mainly, we've got the firewall here for the engine, various bits and pieces. Interesting, there's a little arrow giving you an indication of which way to position it, which is handy. Some covers, again, you got a mix of like raised parts here, which is nice, and recessed. Covers, the actual cannons. The wheels are nice, got the word Dunlop on there. They look nice, actually, nicely moulded. It's all clean. There's your wheel inserts, which are good. Should make painting easier. And then you've got something called a jig, Not quite sure what that is, but I probably should pay more attention on the instructions. But that's obviously helping you align parts, I guess. Nice, looks good. Put that bag. This is sprue G. This is a lot of your flaps, your wing tips. Again, not to criticise, but there's a slight I think there's a bit of a where there's an ejection pin underneath. I don't know. Almost like, I don't know. Maybe it's just, again, the camera's not going to pick this up. It might just. There's kind of almost like a little slight dimple there, which I can't tell if it's just part of the injection moulding and you won't see it, but it does. You can feel it if you run your finger over it. But you don't get it on this bit, and again, you do get it on that bit. But again, the parts look nice. The level of detail is fantastic. You can see there, hopefully, all the rivets look good. Parts themselves, generally, these flaps look nice. It's flash free, which you'd expect really on a new, and let's be honest, on a new kit. There's some obviously useful instructions there to help you position these bits correctly there for the air intakes, which is nice. We then got a part here with all those sort of braces for the wings. That's his sprue F. Sorry. The guns, machine guns, and the cannons look nice for an injection molded plastic. I'm sure there will be metal and possibly resin replacements you can buy if you feel that way inclined. Obviously, probably not at the moment, but I'm sure the aftermarkets will they'll come out with all sorts of different things for this kit pretty quickly. There's all your different brace parts for the wing. Again, it's a nice sprue. It's clean. It's crisp. No real complaints there. And then we've got 2 more bags full of plastic, so let's open those up. Here we've got our engine, or parts, many parts for the engine. Let's be honest, that's almost a kit in its own right. They look really nicely detailed, lovely. The braces for the engine, again, sorry, I'm not sure how well the camera's picking up. The level of detail is brilliant, really, really nice. All those parts look good. I mean, what else can I say? There's a lot of high level of detail here. Really, really nice. No complaints with that sprue. And we've got various bits and pieces of sprue H. This is our sort of horizontal stabilizers, a vertical stabilizer. Again, these are nicely molded. There's a nice sort of feel to them. Different versions, again, I'm guessing. Again, the riveting is nice here. It's really fine and well done. Nicely done. Doesn't seem to be anything untoward on those parts that I can see, so that's all good. Nice. Then we've got one more bag here of grey plastic. This is going to have our sort of engine cowling, propeller blades, etc. Again, we've got some nice raised rivets here and fairly subtle recessed rivets. The propeller blades look good. There's no horrible sink marks in these that I can see. Again, there's a slight oddness in texture here, where I guess the plastic's kind of met. Sorry, I'm out of camera shot here. Again, you can't really see it. It's only really slight, and again, a quick sand. I don't think it's almost like where the injection's got the plastic's injected here and here, and it's kind of met, and it's created a slight, what initially looks like just a slight. I don't know how to explain it. Initially it doesn't look like there's any texture to it, but if you feel it, there is a slight. But again, it's nothing. Nothing that can't be taken care of really easily. The rest of the parts, though, look fantastic. No complaints there at all. Then the clear parts, all bagged up separately. Try not to chop my finger off in the process. So we've kind of got these two parts for the instrument panel. I think one is if you want to paint it, possibly, and one is if you're going to use the decals. If you can see, the one's kind of clear, and one has actually got the instruments on there. They're nice though. I mean, the clear part again. The clear part here is fantastically clear. I mean, there is some distortion, but you're going to expect it. It doesn't seem excessively thick. There is, I don't think this, again, I don't think the camera's going to pick this up. There is a mould seam line along the top there, though, that probably is going to need to be taken care of. It's really, really slight, though. Shouldn't really, if you're very careful, slight bit of polishing. Interestingly, this part, though, doesn't have it. There's no seam line there. This one does, this one doesn't. And I'm assuming one is for open and one is for closed, or they're different. Again, I probably should have paid more attention on the instructions, but I wanted to keep this video not too long and dwell on too much. But yeah, there's a slight seam on that bit, but it shouldn't take much to polish it out. It's not really a drama. But other than that, the clear parts are fantastic. No complaints there or whatsoever. So I think I've covered all the bits and pieces there. Wow, it's going to build into a beautiful model, without a shadow of a doubt. I'm really looking forward to starting it, which I will be doing probably this weekend. Hopefully, that's the plan anyway. Depending on kids and other things. But thanks for watching. I hope that was of some use. Again, it's just my initial thoughts on the kit. Even with those, couple of sink marks, it's still a bloody good kit at the end of the day. And under 100 quid for a kit of that size, that scale, and that quality this day and age is great. Really pleased, really looking forward to it. Anyway, cool. Well, thanks for watching. Hopefully, as I say, that was of some use.